Hi, I'm Jim Tolles, and I blog regularly at spiritualawakeningprocess.com. I'm a spiritual teacher and healer, and today I want to talk about spiritual awakening and major life changes. Many of you will find that there's a lot that needs to change in your life when you have an awakening. And what that is this realigning of your entire life to you, to love, to the fullness of your truth, to all of you, in all the ways that we've played small and lived in little boxes and small ideas of who we are and what we can be and what we can do, we've cut ourselves off from ourselves. Any definition, any idea, ultimately will become too small. Although afterwards, after the awakening, we learn how to use different ideas as clothing. Like when I say I'm a spiritual teacher, it's just a type of clothing I'm wearing. I can take it off. Now, there's certain aspects to who I am naturally that the spiritual teaching just kind of happens in my life regardless of what I'm doing. But still, it's a level of clothing. It's an ego idea around who and what I am. It's helpful because I can say I'm a spiritual teacher and people have an idea of how to interact with me and what I have to offer, okay? So this is me using the ego idea appropriately. But for many of you, coming into awakening is immediately showing how you've been using ego ideas completely inappropriately and how it's not in integrity with what you really want to do. And that's a really shocking thing. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck and almost frozen amidst like this immense rush of energy, this like cascade of water, pushing you, opening you. And that flood, that is you. And it's coming up against this wall of ice, right? And it's just incredibly painful where like part of you knows you have to change. Another part of you has no idea what to do. Because I mean, who's been teaching this for the most part? Like I think it's wonderful that we have YouTube now and all these other new teachers are out there starting to spread the message to say this is what's going on and this is natural, this is normal. This is coming into your spiritual adulthood in many ways. If that may be a more helpful way to think about it, that you've gone through this phase of spiritual infancy and childhood, growing up where you really didn't know anything. You just had to take other people's words, at their face value and just kind of go with it. And the spiritual awakening and then the process of change that comes after is kind of the adolescence of coming into spiritual adulthood. And it's a messy, nasty type of most people's lives. It doesn't necessarily have to be. And I want to emphasize this because a lot of people are going to be a lot closer to what they love. And a lot of people are going to be further. And you can't really generalize because everybody's life is going to be different and everybody's awakening is going to be different. And the level of clarity and purity that people are moving to is different. So for some people, it's just going to be just so intense that they're just kind of collapsed and crying all the time and are exhausted. And it's just cleaning it all out. Like there's so much stuff coming up and it's going up to such an intense clarity and a high vibration that no level of impurity can kind of be there. And I'm using purity very carefully here. I don't want you to get caught up on being super pure or super perfect or any of that. But your own system knows. It already knows. And you can trust that. And that's an important faith that you need to have in yourself and in the process to kind of work your way through and to fully embrace it. And then other people, it's just going to be kind of this more subtle shift. And because they're already doing a lot of things they love and they have a lot of great people in their life, maybe a lot doesn't fall out, or maybe a lot does. I mean, you can't really generalize it, and only in your inner knowing do you know. But for those of you that do feel this need to make huge changes, it really does start with sitting down in your meditation and taking a few moments, catching your breath, because this is such an intense process. You can feel breathless. And it's one of the simplest things I can offer to you is just keep coming back to that breath. And take a few deep sighs where you just relax, let it out, relax again, relax a little more, come deeper into this meditation. If it's an emotional space for you, that's all right. That's what needs to move before you can get to your clarity to make a major decision. You don't want to jump to these next decisions too quickly. Some things you need to stay in the fire for, because that's how we're going to burn it out. And you created this fire with all the things that are around you, the people, the jobs, the relationships, the environment. Environment's an important thing to pay attention to because each city, each neighborhood, each region has its own sort of vibration. And that creates certain things and pressures around you and opportunities around you. And you've created that. And there are times when you need to leave. And that's part of, developing that clarity. You need to find out, if this is a space you need to leave or the fire that you need to stay in because it's burning things out, and creating space for you. We won't stay in the fire the entire time. That's not how it works in this process. But there are certain times when you need to stand in it and learn how to be with this discomfort, because what's happening is actually it's forcing out the pain that you've got in you that's been sitting there the entire time. One of my favorite metaphors for the spiritual awakening is a little old man or a little old woman, doesn't matter. A little old wise person comes to your house one day and knocks on the door, and you let this person in. And it's just beautiful to have this person here, right? And this is the image of the awakening, or the image of the teacher if you want, but really let's go with the awakening. And it stays there for a while and everything feels great. And then one day, the little wise man goes over to your closet and pulls everything out and throws it in the middle of the floor. And you're like, what is this? And I didn't want to remember that. And do I still have this? And that's one of those important points where you have to decide, are we going to clean this mess up? Right? That's part of the major life changes that we start to make, because we're also making major changes internally. When you make those major internal changes, the external world has to change. It's just going to. I mean, life is all of change, and holding on into this idea of permanence is nothing but pain. You are going to suffer so much if you try to hold on to everything. And in truth, the more you hold on to things, the less you allow them to transform into something else. Just imagine what would happen with a peach pit, right? If I held the seed in here like this the entire time, it could never grow into being a tree. In some respects, that's part of what's happening too, is, whether it's the house cleaning metaphor, right, where you clean out the closet and the old man comes back later and goes down to your cellar and you have to deal with that, and you have to deal with the attic, and it goes on like that for a while. Or you can go with this metaphor of the peach pit, where like suddenly you are starting to burst forth, right? Or maybe there's a metaphor you can go with a coal that gets turned into, a diamond from the pressure. But eventually that pressure has to go away in our own lives. Like, it's not meant to be that intense all the time. So they use different metaphors that work, and some of them don't work as well, but that's not the point. I'm just giving you different lenses, different ways to think about, what's going on. And as I said, take your time before making major decisions and see if you can't find some perspective. So if you do need to leave an area, go to different areas, see if things are actually feeling better to you. If something is going on with the environment that's not healthy for you, when you leave it and you find a different place, you're usually going to find something that feels different. You'll be able to sense it. If everything kind of feels the same, that's you, and it's not really the environment. The same thing goes with relationships. A lot of people are like, oh my God, I gotta bail. I mean, this partner I'm with is just so not enlightened like me, and I can't be with all, his or her unconsciousness, and yada, yada, yada. It's like, take some moments there. The more time that you spend understanding your own process, and this is why I talk about journaling. If you can't talk to yourself about something, you can't talk to anybody else. So your partner can't possibly understand what to know or do. As I said, most people haven't been taught about this process, and this to me is actually a very normal and beautiful process for a lot of people. That there's just this natural awakening and coming into your spiritual adulthood. And most people haven't been taught, so how would your partner know? Unless you're really lucky to have a partner who's already gone through this process, who is very spiritual and has been paying attention. And especially if you have one of those, then, give them the benefit of the doubt. Nonetheless, learning to talk about it will become part of this, so this other person can understand and support you appropriately. Because even as a spiritual teacher, I can't know what all my students need at any different time. That's why I'm always talking to them, develop your inner knowing, develop your inner knowing, develop your inner knowing. It's kind of a broken record. And I use inner knowing and intuition synonymously. They're the same for me. And so that way they can express oh, this is what I need right now from you, Jim. And I can say, okay, well then let's do this. And, I can do that and have that sense in my own self around, what's in integrity with where they're at and what they actually need. And this feels in alignment with what I have to offer, and all these different types of things that go on. So developing that inner knowing will be really helpful. So you can say, you know what, right now, I just need you to go out and buy me a load of organic broccoli from the farmer's market. And your partner, they may feel empowered, like they actually have something they can do for you. That can go a long way in, sustaining a relationship. And then some relationships, they do have to go. They serve their purpose. It's time to let them go. Stop trying to drag them through your own process with you. It doesn't work that way. You can't take anybody with you. That's all an individual choice. Now, I'm not going to say that there isn't an influence from this shift in you, because we're all interconnected, and that is definitely influencing your partner. But there still needs to be some level of choice with your partner about coming with you, or your friends, or whoever else it happens to be that you don't want to let go of in life, because you have to let go of everyone. And letting go of the attachment, as I said, it allows things to flourish. It allows the peach tree to grow. The relationship can't grow beyond this space, if your whole life is held in a fist. So these are some ideas about preparing yourself during the major life changes. You're going to make some, more than a few usually. And some people will make less depending on where their life is, if it's more in alignment with the deeper part of themselves. With a lot of you, it will be big, and that's okay. And I encourage you to find that space of okayness as you develop your meditation and spend time with your inner knowing. And it's not always going to be crystal clear, but give yourself the benefit of the doubt. Things will get messy, but you can find your way out. If you ever want to contact me, I'm at spiritualawakeningprocess.com, and I'm happy to help out. But most of all, you are your own greatest teacher, and I trust that you'll find your way. Have a beautiful day.